Hey everyone, welcome to Home Service Headquarters. Today we are joined with Pete Wagner from Wagner Wood Floor Doctors. He has over 30 years of experience in the wood flooring business. The first 5 years of his career, he worked for someone else, learning the trade, sanding floors, finishing floors, before he finally felt like he was ready to launch his own business. And he did so 25 years ago, and he has owned and operated Wagner Wood Floor Doctors for the last 25 years. He's got a ton of experience, some funny stories to share with us. So come on, listen to the podcast today. Welcome to Home Service Headquarters. Welcome everyone to another episode of Home Service Headquarters. Today I'm super excited to be joined by Pete Wagner from Wagner Wood Floor Doctors. He has over 30 years of experience doing wood flooring and in the trades, and I'm super stoked for you guys to learn from him today. Hey Pete, how you doing today?
Good, Taylor. How about you?
It's been a very good day, and this is probably the best part of my day so far. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
All right. So the first question I want to ask you is just how did you first get into flooring? Or maybe if a better question is, how did you first get into the trades in general?
My senior year of high school, I was in the on-the-job training program working at Sears.
Cool.
School wasn't my thing, so a friend
Yep.
of mine, a couple months after high school, ran into him and said, "Give this a try." He said, "It's darn hard work, but if you stick with it, you'll be successful."
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
So you were not afraid of, you didn't love school, but you weren't afraid of hard work.
now manual labor I knew was my thing.
That's awesome. So was flooring the first trade you tried?
That is correct. Yes.
That's amazing. And did you start straight up with hardwood flooring right from the get-go?
Yep. When I first started, I got into resands, or they trained me in on resands,
Okay.
and then attempted to get me into installing a little bit, but they needed more of a sander type of guy.
Yep.
So I ended up being a sander. Then about 2 years into the career, I was able to start doing a few installs and start fresh floors and help other guys finish up other projects.
So you started at the sanding level and then worked up and slowly learned the trade. And was that while working for another company?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
no, I only did wood floors in 95.
Okay.
And then 95 to 2000, I worked for a company.
Okay. And then so you started, I believe, your business in 2000. So you worked for someone else's company for 5 years, learning the trade. And then in 2000, is that when you said, "I'm ready. I'm going to launch my own business"?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. Well, what went into that? How did you decide now's the time?
Well, at that point, we had a 2-year-old and a newborn. And then I saw the money that the company that I was working for was making.
Yep.
And I thought I could give them, the customers, a better deal. So I just took a leap of faith and it worked out.
That's amazing. So you knew what they were charging the customer, you knew it was maybe a higher price tag than it needed to be, and you knew you also weren't taking home that entire paycheck.
That is correct. I was making them a lot of money, which I get.
Yep,
You got to start somewhere, but at some point again, you got to take that leap and try to be your own boss as well. So that's what I did.
totally. That's amazing. So looking at that sort of as a path where you work for someone for a while, learning the trade before launching your own business. And, it's super trendy right now to see YouTubes about just hop in the trade, start your own business, learn on the fly, maybe mess up some people's houses, but eventually you'll get it. How do you look at that approach versus the approach you had of why don't you take some time to learn from someone first and then launch your own business?
Well, that's just it. You got to learn from somebody and train under somebody for a couple years.
Yep.
Yeah, you could watch a YouTube video for certain trades and launch a business, but with floor sanding, you got to know how to connect the cord to 220.
Yep.
Each machine is kind of a precise um, grip, strength. Machine could go through a wall at some point.
Yep.
The big machine. So it's a skilled trade, and especially for flooring, I don't think I started or did my own sanding on my own until I was a year and a half into the trade.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So there's a lot of tricks that you have to learn. And of course, the first job I was sent out on took me twice as long that it should have, but
Yep.
that's like, how you learn it.
Totally. I like how you mentioned there can be accidents in the trade. When you're in the flooring business specifically, is there insurance or licensure that you need to carry to protect the homeowner?
There is insurance with flooring. Since I'm a specialty, I don't need to be licensed with
Okay.
the state. But there's definitely insurance that you need. I'm sure there are guys out there that unfortunately go without, but
Yes.
so and a lot of insurance companies I've heard are not writing these policies anymore because they're too risky for them. So
Okay. So maybe something to ask if you're looking to hire a wood flooring specialist, whether or not they're coming to your home insured is probably a good filter to ask them.
that's, yep. Yeah, I always get asked, are you licensed, insured, and bonded?
Okay.
You don't,
And you say
so, so
yes and
yeah,
no.
yes and no. Yeah, I say we don't need to be bonded because I'm
Yep.
only myself. And then, yeah.
Totally. So if someone's looking at, let's say, getting into the flooring business, or maybe they're working for someone else and they're ready and they're starting to debate, should I go out on my own? I think I'm leaving some money on the table. Like you said, I'm making someone else a lot of money, and maybe I'm ready to take on some of that risk. Um, what was the hardest part about launching your business?
One of the hardest parts is back in 2000, there were still the yellow pages. And I looked in the phone book and I think there was 5 pages of floor guys.
Oh,
So I thought,
wow.
is there room for another small operator?
Yep.
And obviously there was. So I guess my advice would be learn your trade
Yep.
and don't be afraid to take that risk.
Wow. So in five pages of people they could choose, how did you build that book of business? Was it yellow pages plus then people told their friends? Was there a lot of word of mouth going on in the early days?
So when I first started, we lived in White Bear Lake. So I
Yep.
took out a little ad in the White Bear Press.
Okay.
So I did that, I think, for 5 years. And then obviously word of mouth took off from then. And I think that's the best form of advertisement.
100%. So on getting referrals and repeat business, what would you say is the most important part about getting that referral or that word of mouth reference to a friend?
Um, Honestly, just be open and honest with people.
Yeah.
If if there's a screw up that you did, be open with them and say,
Yep.
I'll fix it or make it
Mm.
better somehow.
Yep.
But honesty does go a long way.
That's amazing. I mean, because when you're doing a trade, mess ups are gonna happen. Like there's
Correct.
no, especially if you're working on an existing house. I mean, new builds have mistakes all the time, let alone I'm currently in a 75-year-old house. It's impossible to try to take a part of my house, refresh it, make it better while also not making a mistake or, running into issues along the way.
Right. Yep.
So if you're going to come into issues, being able to communicate honestly and take them on yourself, I think is such a critical skill, and probably takes what could be a negative experience and actually makes it a positive one. Hey, this happened. I'm going to make it right. Here's how I'm going to make it right. Does that sound good to you? If they're let
Right.
in on the process, they're not going to go on Google and leave you a 1-star review. They're going to say, "Oh man, that was amazing. Thank you for letting me know."
Right. It's
Yeah.
it's very hard to admit your mistake.
Yep.
But again, honesty does go a long way.
Um, on that note, on just building that book of business, or even just getting started, I would say. So, in flooring specifically, how much money do you think it took or it would take today to get started? How much could you say you can just rent everything and start your own business versus you need to buy all the equipment, own all the equipment, own an industrial sander, um, if someone's trying to start their own business?
So I did buy my equipment in '99,
Yep.
and I think total sanding wise, I think it was about $8,500.
Okay.
Now it's probably about 15,000 if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken. I haven't priced it out obviously because this
Because you
machinery
got the
is
stuff.
the machinery is built to last. Obviously, you need to do maintenance, but
Yep.
I'm sure it's almost doubled.
Yeah. So for with 15 grand, would you say it's critical to own that equipment, or do you think someone could own a few pieces and rent for some of their first big projects?
I do know a few guys that own some of the big stuff, but rent some of the small stuff.
Okay.
There is a shop that you can rent the 220 machines, I believe, and the edgers and buffers and vacuums.
Okay.
So you could go that route and do a few jobs and at least get half of the down payment, or not down payment, but half
Yep.
the money you would need to buy new.
Ah, that's really good.
Um, I know there's a lot of guys that sell used stuff, but you just never
What are
know
you
what you're going to
getting?
get.
You really don't. If it's coming on Craigslist, who's used it for how long and did they maintain it is probably the bigger question.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen guys roll the big machine through grass and over sidewalks on the cracks, and you just hear thunk, thunk, thunk. So they're probably not sanding too flat anymore.
Yeah, that's not going to be working. Um, all right, so you have all that equipment. Are you a van guy or are you a truck guy?
Well, I did buy a van in 2004
Okay.
um, for $20,000.
Okay.
Now I think they go for about 30.
Yep.
Was it 4 or 5 years ago? I did get rid of it. I donated it to the Alzheimer's Association because
Oh,
my mom
very
had
cool.
Alzheimer's.
Oh, very
So
cool.
now I do work out of an F-150. I
Okay.
don't have a topper, but it does have a tonneau cover.
Okay.
So I haven't got caught in the rain yet, but
But there
there's
is
always
that
that
risk.
yet. There's always that chance.
How do you like the truck life versus your van life so far?
Well, the truck, it's dual purpose now, so I can
Okay.
haul the pontoon and my equipment, obviously at
Nice.
separate times, but
Yes.
I do kind of miss the van.
Totally. I've heard a lot of people end up loving their van and really missing it when it's gone. I have
Yeah.
to I have to tattle on you to the audience out there. I'm lucky enough to work at home service headquarters with Pete's wife Shelly, and she had a funny story, and I want you to share. You used to have a plain white van,
Yep.
and tell me, why did you end up needing to get that wrapped and branded?
Well, there was a few incidences, but the real funny one is I was doing a house out in Delwood, and the neighbors had, it was obviously, like you said, no decals on it or nothing. I always knew I was going to get a sheriff knocking on the door at some point. So all of a sudden start sanding and knock on the door and go to the door. And sure enough, it was a deputy. Got a call about a suspicious van. But
That's
his
amazing.
response was there wouldn't be a burglar coming in to sand the floors. So it was a short meeting with the deputy.
Yeah. So, if you're out there and you're driving in the trades a plain white van, just know that you might look a little sketchy, and maybe a decal or a van wrap could do you some wonders as far as not sketching the neighbors out. And you said that had happened actually a couple times, right?
Yeah, a couple times. And then I'd let my kids sit in the back of the van in the winter for the bus.
Yep.
And then I'd go to work. So luckily I didn't get called on that, but a few neighbors did say, this
Looks a
is
little
weird. Luckily I
looks a
know
little
you, but
strange.
yeah, if nobody knew you, this would be definitely strange.
Yeah. Luckily, that was in your own neighborhood and not in a
Yeah,
random
I was about a
neighborhood.
half a block away and I could see my house. So
Yes, it's amazing. I'm
I
glad you
was
didn't get
safe
called
and the
on that
kids
one.
were safe.
Yes. Glad you didn't get called on that one. That one would have been a more awkward conversation than
Yeah,
me
that
standing a
definitely would have
stranger's van.
been.
All right, I have a few questions just I want to ask before we go back to a few more business sided. On the flooring, just for fun side, what is your favorite type of flooring job to take on?
I've always liked the resands.
Yeah.
Just that's one of the reasons I got in the business as well. The company that I worked for only liked the installs and didn't much care for the resands. And I thought there's not a lot. I mean, there's money in it, obviously, but
Yep.
you're in and out in 2 or 3 days, whereas an install could be for sure a week, if not a couple weeks. So, and then also with resands, I like the before and after for sure.
Oh my gosh, they're
It's
so
just
gorgeous.
the
Do you have
the
a
beautiful
favorite
wood.
in Minnesota? Do you have like a favorite era of home building where you go in and you just know what you're about to get because that era used a certain type of hardwood?
I still kind of like the 1920s houses
Yeah.
in St. Paul and Minneapolis. Just the beautiful white oak, red oak, or
Mhm.
sometimes they mix the two, and it's very tough to tell
Yep,
what's what. A
that's
lot of it's
amazing.
plain sawn or quarter sawn.
Yep,
So yeah,
I
I
love
like the
that.
1.5 inch white or red oak.
Inch and a half is gorgeous. Yeah, we have a 40s house and has that same. It's a little bit more on the. I mean, the stain is a little bit more on the orangey side, but it's that inch and a
Sure.
half. It's just I love it. It's probably due for a resand here in the next 5 years, but it's just
Okay.
it's so amazing. And on the resanding side, I assume does that mean that you're also then doing the refinishing or the staining and polishing on top?
Yep. Yep. I do it all. So yeah, I strip it down to the raw wood, fill the butt ends, and then give the homeowners a choice of either the clear coat, which sounds like what you have,
Yep.
or a stain. A lot of people are going with stains nowadays, but
Yep.
I still like the clear coat.
Nice. I agree. I love it. What is the most, when it comes to wood flooring, is there a most lucrative sort of job to take on?
A lot of the specialty $1 million houses, obviously, but
Yeah.
I did a few borders, which you take a kind of a square room, hopefully,
Yep.
and do a strip of Peruvian walnut I've done, Purple Heart
Gorgeous.
I've done. Obviously, you got a little more math involved, but
Yep.
it's straight lines and hopefully it's a square room. If not, you got to fudge the lines a little bit.
Yes, you're hoping that if you squint or back up, you're not seeing any converging lines.
Right. Yep.
Yep. Are there any jobs that you personally choose to say no to?
um, Not up to so far, but I'm kind of getting to that point of being more picky, choosy. Obviously, we're in White Bear, so I don't want to travel too
Yep.
far west of the cities, but
Yeah.
so I kind of like to try to stay on the east side for the most part. So I haven't really said no to too many jobs.
That's awesome. But you do say no to non-wood flooring. I'm assuming you have been reached out to for vinyl or laminate or other types, and that's not your specialty, correct?
Not my specialty. I have done them, but yeah, it's not. Guys that specialize in it, obviously, they can get them done really quick, but it's
Yep.
just that those first two rows are pretty tough to get snapped together and keep straight.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, I have ventured into tile.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I'm getting older, so tile's not really in the
And
picture anymore.
and tile, if you're not fast, you can have some high hour, low paying jobs.
Exactly. Yeah, you work for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, that's a small project, reasonable price, and then all of a sudden you're there, and it's the fourth day, and you realize my hourly rate is down quite low at this point.
Right. Or yeah, you like you said, you're there for days, and then all of a sudden you see a competitor bid or actual tile person, and it was
Hmm.
4 times as much as you charge. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yep. Yep. Stay away. Well,
yep,
not stay away, but I do think that's a good note for people considering the trades. Is there can be a high value. There's a high value in being a generalist in certain trades, and then there's a high value in being a specialist in certain trades. And it seems like flooring and tiling is one of those things that if you can specialize, not just being a flooring expert, but a hardwood flooring expert or just a wood flooring expert, you can differentiate yourself and sort of get really fast in a certain specialty.
right. And certain jobs that hey, it's going to take me X amount. Where if you go into an old St. Paul or Minneapolis house and you don't realize it's very waxy, yeah, it's gonna take twice as long.
You're going to go through some sheets.
Right. Yep.
All right, I want to go back to just some generic business advice for people who are just starting out. Um, After 30 years, what would you say advice for How do you deal with a hard client?
Well, after 30 years, I can kind of determine if they're going to be ultra, not picky, but
Yep.
kind of nickel and dime me at the end and point stuff out of this isn't
Yep.
right, that's not right. So I guess go with your gut instinct. If
Mm.
uh, I'm guilty of that, not going with my gut instinct because I didn't have
Yep.
anything the following week on the books, so I
Yep.
took a job and it didn't it didn't pan out.
Yep.
So
Is there
if it
anything
doesn't
you
pan,
can do once you realize, oh, I'm in the situation, we've already agreed to work, where you can start to mitigate some of that concern? Is there any sort of communication you can do along the way to mitigate the harshness of a client?
I guess in the middle of a job, you can just pause the job, sit down with the homeowner and say, this is how I'm feeling.
Yep.
I'm wondering if this is going to be okay with you because this is how it's going to turn out. And I'm worried about what your reaction is going to be
Mhm.
with a potential flaw or something's not going to look right. So,
So even mid-project, just like expectation setting, like, hey, here's the direction we're going. What would you like me to do? Like looping them into the process rather than just finishing the project 100% without ever talking to them.
right. Yeah. Because if you finish it 100% and then all of a sudden they pick out what you're going to tell them, then
Yep.
it would be on me or whoever contractor it is.
Yes. That's super good advice. I think communication, especially with homeowners who are, even if they're not overly picky, they typically care about their home. And so if you can get ahead of expectations, whether that's just generically, here's how it's going, here's how it's going to turn out, or I made a mistake and here's what I'm going to do to fix it. Anytime you can kind of bridge that expectation gap, I think homeowners really appreciate it. Um,
Right.
for someone who's starting out, I believe Shelly mentioned that you have done um, mentoring in the past, or you've mentored other people. Would you say that there's value in having a mentor as you're getting into the trades, or even just networking with people more experienced in the trades than yourself?
Networking, yeah, I never have, but I can see
The
the
benefits?
benefit of it, yeah, for
Yep.
sure. Just because again, I haven't advertised in so long, and it's all word of mouth at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get the mentoring and everything like that.
What about for someone who wants to build their book of business and it's going slow? Let's say in flooring, who are the sort of people you'd want to network with in the trade specifically to get more jobs? Is it general contractors? Is it home builders? Is it um, tilers? Like, who are you trying to brush shoulders with to get those referrals?
It could be your local distributor of flooring
Sure.
materials.
Yep.
I do get a lot of stains from paint stores. So
Okay.
they have bulletin boards I can put my card up, and they have called in the past and say, "Hey, are you looking for
Mm,
work?"
that's super good.
So yeah, again, that word of mouth is so key.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Pete, I just have one more question to wrap up the podcast. And it's if you could give, let's say, someone just wrapping up high school or and debating whether they want to go to college or hop into the trades, what's one piece of advice that you'd give them as they consider those paths?
Obviously, weigh your options. If you're good in school, I would say at least get a degree,
Yep.
but you can always fall back on the trades. If you do get in the trades, I would say save your money because there is going to be a rainy day at some point.
Yep.
And like I tell my kids, you're going to get in trouble someday. It's just how you get yourself out of it.
Yep.
Same for business wise. Um, I would say if you're confident in yourself, take a leap.
Hmm.
Like you said, get a mentor that you can fall back on and call, not fall back on them as far as helping you out to get you out of a situation. But have somebody that you can talk to
Totally.
because a guy that's been in business 20 to 30 years has gone through not everything, but most everything.
Yes. They've seen what you're about to go through.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
That's
So
amazing. So consider your options, Get a mentor. And I loved what you said, to save up if you're going to be in the trades, both for a rainy day fund, but also, like you mentioned earlier, if you want to launch your own business at some point, there might be some upfront costs. So saving for that rainy day might also turn into saving to launch your own business.
Right.
Yeah.
Another piece of advice I'd give entrepreneurs is take care of yourself.
Mm,
Not splurge on yourself, but reward yourself for the hard work you do
yeah.
because you are worth it. So
That's such
whether it's
good
you
advice.
you and somebody else or you and your family,
Hmm.
reward yourself.
Enjoy what you produced while working
Right.
so hard. Don't wait.
Right.
Don't wait until you're retired to try to enjoy some of that.
Yep, exactly.
I love that. Well, thank you, Pete, so much for being on here. Thanks to the audience for listening to another episode of Home Service Headquarters. We're super excited. We have some awesome episodes lined up. Thank you again for joining us on Home Service Headquarters.